Welcome to the Bend Don't Break podcast. We are powered by The Source, Bend's locally owned media company and weekly newspaper. This podcast is our eddy in the rushing waters of local journalism. We are glad that you're taking some of your time to listen to us chat with the people who shape our local community. Support us through our member program at bensource.com.
Thank you to our presenting sponsor, RE/MAX Key Properties, a family-owned full-service real estate brokerage specializing in residential, luxury, commercial, new construction, and ranch and land properties. Their new state-of-the-art facility at 42 Greenwood Avenue is a modern, collaborative space and the new home of the Bend Don't Break podcast recording studio.
I'm Aaron Switzer, publisher of The Source and producer with Megan Burton of this fine podcast. Today, we are changing it up a little bit. We are here at the SCP Redmond Hotel, otherwise known as just the Redmond Hotel. And we're in there, was it, Megan, the Evergreen Co-op space?
Evergreen Collective.
The Evergreen Collective, of which on our tour, we noticed they have this cool podcast space. And since The Source is doing its Redmond issue, we thought this would be a good time to break away, come up here, and enjoy these cool digs with City Manager Keith Witcosky.
Thanks, Aaron.
So I thought this was a delicious dish.
We'll talk food. We're just talking foods. But I am, if you're watching these digs are way more comfy than the ones we usually have. So we're expecting a sleepier, more boring podcast today because we're way too comfortable. But Keith has been the Redmond City Manager since summer 2013. He spent his previous working and waking life in Portland. He oversees a staff of nearly 280 people up here, a budget of more than $150 million in services, which include a commercial airport, community development functions, parks, police, and public works. He lives with 4 other mammals, one of which walks on 2 legs, and much to my surprise when I was handed this, considers me his only known friend, and even that stretching it. So I'm glad to reconnect with my own.
Eric, it's very appreciative.
Damn you. Keith, thanks for taking the time. Be up here in Redmond.
Sure.
It was a long journey over to the studios.
It was. And this is my 3rd time. It sounds like the SNL.
Yeah.
I should be getting a coat too.
Yeah, I don't think, Megan can correct me, but I think that, I think only Phil Chang has been on Tree Cut. You are, and Phil. Yeah. And, I think you were the 3rd. I also think you were our 3rd podcast guest. I was trying to remember.
Yeah, it's right there. And it was right when COVID broke.
Yeah.
And we a couple months in.
And I was squirming around trying to figure out what I was going to do now that everything was closed and we were publishing a newspaper. I thought, I wonder what the city made sure. Yeah. Right up now as the world's burning down. So, yeah, it was great.
That's good to see you.
Yeah. Well, I want to kind of open up a conversation about Redmond in general rather than to pick on certain issues. So we'll see how that goes.
I'll answer what I can. And what I don't know, I'll keep answering.
Are those press releases you're shuffling in the background?
No, it's this. Yeah.
The cork background.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it's for exactly.
Well, let's start with the airport. Okay. I have not understood how it is that, the airports are a federal entity, but the city manages the airport. I'd like to understand that better.
Yeah, so we own and operate the airport. It came to Redmond back in like the World War II days, something like that. Most of the airports in Oregon, a lot of the real small ones are owned by the state.
Yeah.
But us, Hillsborough, obviously Portland, but in those cases, strictly Portland, it's run by the Port of Portland, a whole different taxing authority. Right. And but the city's owned it. I think we'll own it for the foreseeable future. I could see how a decade or so from now, creating a port authority might be sense and might make sense and having it be supported by the region.
Yeah, but is it a good thing to own an airport? I mean, I know it's good for a community to have an airport, but as a city, do you want to run an airport?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's been a good experience. It's kind of like a separate business line. It's the closest thing to a private business where it it operates and pays for itself,
Right.
and there's a lot of benefits to owning an airport, particularly the economic development play and what it does for the community. So
Do you get now that it's under construction? Do you get blamed for all the things that are going wrong with paper?
yeah, we get Zach Bass who runs it. He was telling me yesterday that he'll have his annual meeting with Eagle Crest to explain why there's noise up in the sky, and when you go to purchase a home in one of those kinds of communities, and there are planes overhead, they don't realize it till maybe you're outside on a warm April day,
Yeah.
wondering what's going on.
Yeah, I meant to give them a call because I live in Tumalo, and I've noticed that the planes are sometimes routed over Tumalo, and I was going to see if there was something you could be about that.
They'll be out there in an orange vest and those wands, just directing them. Just give them a pasture to stand in.
I mean, it is going to be somewhat of a change for the community when that airport gets built and there's bigger jets and there's more planes.
Yeah, and we've got we're getting ready for a budget, so I've got some facts and figures in my head. Right, we're getting right now at 1.3 million passengers, and when we get the terminal in place, the forecast, 10 years out is like 1.7. I know when I started right back in 2013, it was like 350, 400,000
Right.
people coming and going from the airport. So it's growing a lot.
1.7. I mean, that's a jump of 500,000 people just by construction.
Yeah, I mean, by some people's math, I think it's 50,000%.
I can't do that kind of math. I'm glad you're here. Sure. What is that going to mean for Redmond? What is that?
I mean, what it means for Redmond, it is trying out to do the plan of words, which kind of the economic engine.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about that kind of growth, and you see the industries that are associated with the airport, both direct businesses on the airport, but we know for a fact, Amazon came here because of the Redmond Airport, right? And they built the distribution facility that's going to be opening up real soon, and I would expect they're going to continue to invest because they need access to Central Oregon and east of the Cascades, and they need access to an airport. So that's an example of the kind of business that's here because our size of our commercial airport.
Do they fly their own planes? Amazon? Will they actually be flying in and out like a UPS or
That's a good question. I don't
drone?
think they have their own.
Have they cleared that with the when they start?
Now, see, the drone thing's tough. Like when you're going to fly a drone in this area, right? You literally have to get kind of like permission from the tower and stuff like that. But I don't think Amazon has a fleet of aircraft. I know they have a lot of vans.
Yeah. I cannot keep up because all of a sudden I'll see a van and my son will say, "That's one of their electric ones that they're going to make.
They're going to have fully unaided by one." I'm like, what? That's crazy. Yeah. And who knows? They may have already cleared drone airspace when they move in, because why not?
Yeah, no, I mean it's on the cutting edge, right? All the stuff with AI and the direction it's going.
companies like Amazon have to be on the leading edge of it.
When I go out by the airport currently, the businesses that surround the airport are not like port businesses. You've got a lot of construction out there. I mean, so it's still a lot of it's old school. It's people who've been out there since the airport was 20,000 people moving in there or whatever it was. But is that changing? Are there pressures on them out there? Because I would see that as just like a massive growth area.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're seeing I'm trying to think, remember I can talk about, not talking about, right? We're seeing a couple of, one hotel open. We're seeing another hotel want to open kind of in the vicinity of Juniper Gully.
Yeah.
So you see kind of the hospitality stuff, and there's more people that are doing more than kicking tires, looking at making investments that kind of play more towards the tourism side of things, obviously the fairgrounds, and with the airport, right? If right on the edges, right? Edges of, say, the security fence, and inside the security fence, you get the airport centric businesses.
Right.
On the outside, yeah, we're still seeing, particularly in our industrial areas, the fuel safes, the med lines, baselite, yeah, construction materials.
Right.
And we're not, it's not so much that we're like this technology transfer kind of target industry around the airport right now.
Right. So it's just what I kind of expect to start to see is more people are flying in. You've got more land, meet, go kind of businesses, things like that.
Yeah, one of the, I don't know if it's a deterrent, but it's a fact that any land that pretty much is owned by an airport, we can't sell. So some people want to have the land as an asset, and you've got to keep airport-owned land flexible. So we do things like 20, 30, 40, sometimes 50-year leases, depending upon the level of investment, because you never know about the changing needs of an airport. And so it's kind of a unique aspect. And when you look at what Portland International Airport did with Bechtel and the investments they made, I mean, for people that have been around as long as I've been around, I guess, and maybe you, right? It used to be a cow pasture there, right? Down where there's an IKEA, there's hotels, there's box stores, and that was all kind of master developed by Bechtel, but is still a lease arrangement.
Yeah, that's interesting because I know the area that you have that's fenced for the airport, but the city actually owns more land than that. That's airport land out there.
Yeah, the airport owns more land than just what's inside the fence. So
We can't do a visual for people, but so it could. I mean, how much expansion could the airport do in the long term future? Do you have as much land as Portland? Portland's there?
No, I haven't looked at those numbers.
Okay.
I'd have to get, if I was going to guess, which is not going to be an accurate guess, but still I'd probably say there's probably 50 to 100 or more acres. I mean, actually probably substantially more than that we still
I
have.
don't know. And when people are talking stats about Redmond, how high are you up there for growth within the state?
We're right, the county is among the fastest growing city. We have grown. I would cheat here in this book. I mean, we're at.
You can cheat.
We're
I don't think people expect you.
No, I mean, we're at 38,000.
Right.
We'll be at 39,000 by this time next year. And when you look at the actual, the population has grown 13% over the last 5 years. Yeah. Right. I know, like when I got here again in 2013, we were around 24,000. Now we're at 38,000. And yeah, we're growing fast. When we just look at the city budget and have cities around the state are having to actually make cuts.
Right.
We're just being very cautious in terms of people that we're adding, but we're continuing to see the budget growing because the population continues to grow and our assessed value and property taxes continue to increase, which is really fortunate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I heard an economist talking about how tied to Portland the rest of the state has always been, and as Portland goes, so goes the rest of the state. But just looking around, I mean, for you guys especially, it seems like that's not really the case. And with all the growth you got, and we just talked about at the airport, it doesn't take a rocket science to look around here and just go, yeah, they're growing.
Yeah. Even our residential, the multifamily and single family homes, I think we're anticipating around 350 units being built up in the next fiscal year. And it continues to increase. We keep thinking there's going to be a decline, right? We were hedging our bets a year ago with the budget. Yeah. And it's continuing this, 2 to 3% growth rate. And we're seeing manufacturing increase as well. A lot of that's as Bend becomes more congested just naturally. It's a bit more urban. Some of the companies that have, fairly hefty trucks and lots of materials would rather be in Redmond because it cuts down the amount of time to get to their destination by working their way through city streets in Bend.
Yeah, look at just the area off when the new parkway went through and it cut around Redmond. Everybody was predicting the end of all things, and now everything that's sprung up in that area and those neighborhoods that stretch out, it's an amazing transformation for, I think, a community that was pretty small, very conservative, not a lot of change happening, and then all of a sudden it's like off to the races.
Yeah, lot of growth on our west side, a lot of growth coming on the east side with some property that we got from the county in North Point. The mayor's talking a lot about, and this is years and years out, that trying to secure 1,200 acres from the county on the east side, because we don't want to get hemmed in of only growing on the west. And there's limited access points across this natural occurring dry canyon.
Right.
So we've got to stretch out a little bit our growth.
I remember because I moved to Bend back when it was in the range that Redmond is right now. And I mean, there's just a lot of cultural angst that goes along with it. And of course, we didn't have social media there, so I couldn't track it as precisely and, with the kind of rage that comes with it. But there's such an enormous cultural shift going on here. I think more so even than when Bend was going through this very same thing. And how do you manage that? I mean, do you manage that? I mean, as a city manager, how much of your time do you spend on like culture issues?
Try and leave that for the council.
Yeah, I know. Like the mayor does a pretty good job with this. I know.
No, and we've been fortunate in the right. I just remember the downtown, right, when I first got here, and those issues with closing the streets for events. And I went and visited this woman in this yarn shop, and we've moved beyond yarn shops, right? And we've got one of the best, independent bookstores. There's a lot of great ones in Bend, but Herringbone downtown.
Yeah.
And what I've looked at, and you mentioned, right, we're in this hotel. When this hotel got built and I walked into the lobby, right, I'm from the Pacific Northwest, I was like, well, in a good way, this kind of feels like Seattle.
Right.
And I think that Redmond's grown in a way where it's, particularly in the downtown, there's continuing to be a lot of different choices for everybody, right? There's General Duffy's, there's the blacksmith, there's the food cart pods, there's places that play country music, there's places that play classical music. The diversity of the restaurants continues to increase, and the number of turns that they're seeing each night in some of these restaurants. It used to just be, I'd go out to dinner and they're like, well, we get one turn, right? And that means a seating for folks that
Yeah.
And
People that came up for
it's
the dinner hour.
yeah, and it's supporting more and more quality restaurants and more open, and they're getting crowds.
Yeah.
And it's from Terra Kitchen to Feast to Grayson Hammer is doing great. There's just a lot of diversity in the food choices, which tells me there's a lot of diversity in the growth that we're seeing as well.
It's not all what you're going to find at the SCP Redmond Hotel. You can go to Duffy's and get a completely different experience, and I think that has a lot of value. And I know for people who are siloed and like next door, and you talked a little bit about that, and I've become a fanatic about next door and the insanity that rages on that social media platform, because you can see this conflict in real time, but it's not the way it is on the ground. Like when, I like going to all the different places here in Redmond and getting those. That makes a culture that frankly you really don't find at Penn anymore unless you really work to search it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's interesting. I mean, I've lived in Oregon since the late 70s, but the Bend does have a little bit more of I was born in Oakland, California, but it has more of like a Southern California vibe to it sometimes.
Yeah, increasingly.
And Redmond is still, I just look at the range of events too, like when there's certain rallies that happen downtown on, the whole spectrum of issues, and people, it's kind of like, I've always seen this like live and let live, right? Yeah, sure. Let this community go out and do whatever they're going to do and express their First Amendment rights. And this other community is going to do the same thing over here. And, kind of like, why interfere? And people seem really tolerant of each other, even though there's clearly differences in whether it's political persuasions or cultural tastes or food tastes or whatever. And Redmond just has always seemed, very accepting, which helps with growth, right? It helps with growing and maintaining a good community rather than a divisive community.
Yeah.
You also here have something I don't support, which is a food car lot without alcohol. And I'm not okay with that. I thought I was, and I visited, and no, in all seriousness, I was fine. Nice parent, and I talked to Megan. I increasingly drink NA beer, and I don't like to tell people it's a factor, it's a thing. But this is a whole nother world. This is a whole food car lot with no alcohol. Pioneer, have you been there?
I don't know. I mean, I've gone to different food car pods, but I don't know if it's the one I went to because I don't really drink that much. So, I'll have a couple of glasses of wine a month.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
um,
Well, you wouldn't even notice.
I wouldn't. Maybe I'd notice from
I don't think that's a Ben thing. That I just want to go on the record. It's like it's a Redmond thing.
there's a lot of empty carbs beer.
Well, since we're talking about fluids, that's probably not the best word for it. Let's talk about water in Redmond. It's pretty complicated here because you are, as we stated, growing pretty rapidly, and Redmond has right now a limit on the amount of water that's allocated to the city. I know the mayor has been pretty outspoken in trying to get out in front of the issue. How much does that keep you up? I mean, is it a really hard line?
I mean, Mayor Fitch, Ed's, it's great. Having him is like having another staff member, and he works with our staffer, Josh Wedding, a lot on working up, making sure that we have the water we need for the community, for industry, and just having some certainty because as a percentage, like the cities use far less water than any other user. And, but it is getting increasingly difficult to get, we're trying to we keep this very simple.
Yeah.
Getting the rights to kind of pull water out of, the aquifer that runs under the earth in Central Oregon. We're doing what we can to encourage people to understand how much water they really need to water their grass or their plants, and encouraging them to maybe get more native plants and just less lawns. And we'll be making a push on that over the next month or so. But we talked about the growth and a certainty that we're going to need to make sure that the people that have lived here for a long time and the people that are moving here tomorrow continue to have water in 20, 30, or 40 years, right? Assuming that like the earth is still, spinning and isn't cracked in half. But
That's another podcast.
But no, it's been difficult. We're doing fine now in terms of some of the permits we got over the last year or so get us 30, 40 years out.
Yeah.
But you got to go further than that.
It's always difficult broaching the water issue because I know it's so technical, and I can hear the listeners and the readers with the pressure to really get this right. Every time we do an article and a story, I go to the point, I'm like, well, we're writing on water. We better get 12 sources so we make sure that we get this to the CFS. And one of the things that I understand is a challenge is that while you have the SARD limit, well users in the high desert, not metered.
Yeah. How do you give a well?
I do.
Yeah, no, you could turn it on this morning and turn it off next Wednesday, and it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, I've never understood it, and I've had, of course, there's a joking. People are like, well, pull the tank up to the thing and get your water and start going around and selling high desert pure, water from the Tumalo region, and it doesn't make any sense to me because I do remember when they first put the well, and I mean we were drinking canal water when I first moved in. That's a whole nother world of hurt and out of 10. that old house felt like a tip. But,
How deep is your well?
it's over 800 feet.
Wow. Yes, that's good. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. It's steer down in the main aquifer.
I mean, for us, it's yes. There's that. I mean, the main thing, to the extent there's a big Redmond listenership. What we want people to know is that you can water every other day. You can either water every third day. You really shouldn't water any zone for more than probably 4 or 5 minutes. and do your watering, after like 7 o'clock at night, and don't water at 6 a.m. when everyone's showering. And when people learn that they can actually use less water, still have kind of some greenery, and that we're kind of overwatering.
Yeah.
But it's like talking to folks about recycling before recycling was even a thing.
Right.
And right. And
I mean, here in Redmond, it seems like, because again, I'm a next door attic. I feel like because they have for a while farmed here and they understand the natural environment and the challenges they're up against living in a high desert. It seems like they would be somewhat receptive to that message. It almost seems like there's we'll get the city folk to stop watering their lawns. Because you have actual, unlike Deschutes County, the city of Bend, you got a productive farming economy around here. I don't want to bash Deschutes Farm, it's too much, but they're hobby farmed. Good restaurant. Unlike here, where the water is a lot more meaningful.
Yeah, no, and it's we tell it the population grew critical. Some folks were like, well, if you didn't let these people in 2026, I could water as much as I wanted.
Yeah.
So why do I have to change my ways?
Right.
Because of the growth in population, and it's kind of helping people take more of a communal view of this is good for everyone. And actually, you're kind of overserving yourself. It's like, when you eat, they tell you, hey, if you pause, that's probably when you should stop eating, right? You have to go back to the buffet table, whatever you're doing, and continue to shovel it down. And so helping people realize they can still have the kind of, plants, whatever that they want, and it's not a sacrifice.
Right.
But no, the whole, I had a buddy one time where he's just like, wow, we're in a desert, and yeah, it's interesting that we're growing hay.
Grass.
Yeah, like why are we watering a desert to grow agricultural goods? And he lived out, in the country. So
I think for people, when you first get here and you see that network of irrigation channels that have been cut and how long they are and where it pulls the water from and it's redistributed, then you get into flood irrigation. The more you know, the more your eyes just pop, and it's so set in stone. My thing on it is, you allocated this water in 1889. Things have changed a little bit. And everybody's like, hey, that's what I was promised in 1889. They told me I was going to get this much CFS, and you're kind of like, well, things change. It's like, not me.
That's exactly it. Not for me. And right, and there's just the balance of interests. The tribes and the importance of water temperature, particularly in the Crooked River.
Right.
And it's
but I think it really hits home for Redmond in particular, and for city planning, where you're like all this. That's the thing that I think has been. I've been so impressed with that, because he came on the podcast and started about it. I was like, hey, these are fighting words, And,
Yes, they were. Some phone calls after that. For that interview.
But he's a good emissary for, hey, it's this 1889 system and the kind of growth that Redmond is seeing. This is really where the rubber hits the road. And I will be intrigued to see how you fix this.
Yeah, I will be. I already made that commitment as part of my campaign that I don't have. Because I don't have to run for anything. But no, we have conversations with the water department tomorrow, right? Yeah. And the Central Oregon Cities Organization, which is what it sounds like. All the cities in Central Oregon are going to be having a discussion with the legislators about this in June. And there's water policy that has been discussed with the departments and stakeholders over the last month or so, as we try and extend, this thing called a mitigation program. Yeah. But at the same time, preserving and recognizing some of the rights the tribes have to manage water as well, because they've been here for a long time.
Yeah.
And I've never seen a topic with so many interests that are, as you said, dating back to the covered wagon days.
Right. It blows my mind. Yeah. I mean, you can near in Tumalo, there's a irrigation ditch. It just there's nothing running in it. Nothing's running it for decades, and it's like, well, where's that water allocation? Where did that go? That just got rerouted somewhere. Someone took a lesser water right for it, and I mean, it's beyond my ability to track for sure. So, we're nearing the end of our time, and aside from water, I'm just curious as you look
extensionally.
yeah. Okay. As you're looking forward, what are what keeps you up at night, which is what I ask a lot of people. You know, is it true? No, I could.
I just got a thyroid medication figured out, so we're in better shit. But no, I mean the stuff that there's a lot of exciting things, right? We're gonna have our wetlands complex, which is our
going to become our wastewater treatment plant. Naturally treated is going to be open at the end of 2027. Airport's new airport terminal, right? Doubling is going to be open the end of 2027. We've got some exciting, road projects, not exciting, but important road projects that are going to help with congestion. The East Side Arterial is going to be open over the next year or so. And there's some real important projects that have been underway for a long time. They're going to see their completion dates in about 18 months. And that's exciting. And I tell folks, like, these are, like, being a city manager, like, it is so fun because, like, every day is different and you have no idea what's going to happen each day. And I kind of enjoy that.
Yeah.
So,
I think one of the most fascinating things is the way, a little bit like a tree farmer, because not a normal farmer, like, you plant these seeds of development and planning, city planning and things, and they take a decade to come to fruition. And then, I mean, fortunately for you, you've been in the position long enough that those things that you started way, way back are now finally coming forward, and you can see that kind of change in real time.
Yeah, and it's one other thing that I never during the end. Like, we had a meeting today with this really important company in Redmond, and like the puzzles we get to work on, like they were talking about, okay, we've got to go meet with Rooted Homes now because we've got to figure out a way to get like shared appreciation mortgages for our employees, because there's the employee retention component of affordable housing and affordable ownership housing, which is what Rooted does.
Yeah.
So all these partnerships that didn't exist is back when, like, was core before Rooted Homes 6, 7, 8 years ago happening now.
Yeah.
And the linkages between keeping a critical employer, having them find housing to keep their employees in an opportunity for, asset creation, wealth creation. It's all really exciting, right?
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what ways to get a radar, at the Redmond airport, because the radar that's there is based in Seattle because it's just the airport.
Oh, wow.
There's all sorts of little things.
Yeah, but that's the benefit of being able to play with an airport like you did. Like, 'cause you have the airport, you can go get radar, and that's what you wake up to.
Or a call from the police because, a bunch of cows were loose on canal. Which was, that was last week.
Back to take back. That's Street. No, it's not Street.
Yeah.
The cows are in the canal.
They were on Canal Boulevard by Fred Meyer. All these little calves. So guys were stopping their trucks with they had lassos in hand, apparently.
Yeah.
And it was corralling cows.
I got to remember that if I see that, I need to call you first. Cows on canal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I served and continue to serve on the Redmond Tourism Bureau. And one of the fascinating things I found about that process was the group that was running it had us do a bunch of wordplay on what Redmond, what we thought, what our perception of Redmond. They throw words out there for you to do it. And I was kind of struck that bold was one of the words that we rested on, and I remember going back in my forth in my mind around that word, and it's true in the way that Redmond has kind of embraced, and this is me till we blow smoke, but I like to do that at the end of these, but But it was true that when we were doing the process, and I had not thought of Redmond as bold. There's a lot of things that would come to mind, and you're trying to brush aside the cliches and prejudices that you bring to that kind of session. But I really gravitated around that word and thought about that. That's really the way that Redmond has struck me. You've had these problems and issues come up, and the solutions have always been pretty quick and moving the city forward. And I mean, there's always problems and stuff, but there haven't been these monumental setbacks, or it's moved forward pretty smoothly, I would say.
Yeah, we've been. I mean, we're lucky that the department heads we have, like Devin Lewis, the chief of police, or I could go on down the list. Jessica, who's our public works director, right? These folks came from Bend, and them and our council that's willing to make decisions and not overthink something longer than it needs to be thought about. And we move really quickly because we have smart people that are coming up with really good ideas of how to attack the challenges. And we've got a council that trusts them. And that's something the trust in council has been in place as long as I've been here. But I mean, the East Side Arterial, that got done because Jessica had this idea. She met with Jason Neff, our deputy city manager. She said, we can do it, but let's create a car rental tax to fund it.
Yeah.
And council's like, all right, just keep informing us, answer our questions, and let's get this done. And you get it done.
That's the kind of thing. I mean,
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
Keith, thanks for spending some time today.
Sure. It's a good time.
For our Redmond issue. Anything in parting you'd like to say to listeners, readers, folks want to know what we didn't chat about? Any other airports you want to inquire in the short term?
I don't try these things creative, so I don't know.
Kamala Vet is a very good vet hospital clinic, just so you know.
Yeah.
If people are looking, for a place to have their cat get cornea surgery.
Yeah. Now you're getting the plugs. You're putting out things now. Well, this has been the Bend Don't Break podcast. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed it, go to deadsource.com, click on the donate button, become a member, and help us continue to bring people like Keith back for his 4th term, 4 times.
Just keep. I appreciate the check.
Yeah. Thank you. You've been listening to the Bend Don't Break podcast, powered by The Source Weekly. To read, hear, and see more of what we do, go to bendsource.com.